guys, my name is Emma and welcome to Bookish Fix. Today I will be reviewing a book that I read recently that I absolutely loved, and it's by a debut author who I think will go really far, especially in the mystery thriller category, or genre should I say. And yeah, I'll just get right into it. The book I'll be talking about today is The Chalk Man by C.J. Tudor. This book blew me away. The fact that this is a debut novel, and just by how much I absolutely loved it, I cannot believe this is a new author. Mystery and thrillers are my favourite genre out of all the books that I read, and to find a new author who pulled it off in such an amazing way, I cannot wait for her to write more because I'm just going absolutely insane about this book. I have not been able to get it out of my head for the last couple of days since I've read it, and honestly, I want more. I need more from you, C.J. Tudor. I need them now. So I'll read you the blurb or the synopsis. It's really short, but it leads you to such an amazing book. So here goes. None of us ever agreed on the exact beginning. Was it when we started drawing the chalk figures or when they started appearing on their own? Was it the terrible accident or when they found the first body? So that's not giving you a lot of information about this book. Look at the spine, that is beautiful. This is a story about childhood and innocence and sort of the darkness that comes with children and some of the stuff that they do. Set in two perspectives. It's the kids when they're about 12 years old and then the kids when they're about 32. The years it's set, so as a child it's set in 1986, and then as they're older it's set in 2016. Big year difference, so obviously things are going to be different in those times. I think C.J. Tudor really did a good job in representing how the times had changed, you know, technology wise, and just the slang that was used and stuff like that. She did a really good job in showing how a child would talk and then how an adult would talk. So like the writing in both perspectives I think was really, really well done. So when the kids are younger, it's a little bit different to when Eddie is older, because Eddie is our main character. So when they're younger, you know, there's a body that's discovered, and these chalk drawings that they have been drawing, you know, as a secret code to interact with their friends and to be like, oh, you know, this chalk figure means meet me here, this chalk figure means meet me somewhere else. Yeah, they find this body and there's all these chalk drawings everywhere. So they don't know where they've come from, they don't know who's killed this person, and years pass, and one of the friends who sort of was isolated from the group due to a couple of things that happen, which also are explained towards the end, he comes back and he wants to go back and sort of, you know, dig up the past and sort of try and get the truth out about what happened. Yeah, it sort of starts off from there as him as an adult. He is a bit of an alcoholic, which I don't know, some people might be touchy about, but honestly, I didn't find it that sort of shocking. A lot of people drink. It is a problem, even though we're always talking about drugs and everything else, and that's a problem. I think alcohol is just as bad. You know, as an adult, same sort of things start happening. Our body turns up. You know, is it related to what happened back then? If it is, who's doing it now? What's with the Chalkman drawings? There's a lot of different things that feel like the stories are connected. The main character in this book is Eddie Adams, also known as Eddie Munster to his friends, like a play on words, because Adams is, you know, the Adams family, and Munster is actually from the Munsters. And then we've got Fat Gav, Metal Mickey, Hoppo, and Nikki, who's the only girl in their friendship group. I did not know C.J. Tudor was a female, because a lot of the characters in this book are male, so I just assumed that C.J. Tudor was a male, but she's not. She's a female, and she wrote these male characters in such a way that I honestly didn't know she was female. I thought she was writing from a male perspective, and how a male, you know, would see things. It's done in such a good way. Just, you know, some of the words used, some of you know, how they think, but it's just done in a way that really suits the characters when they're younger and when they're older. I was actually blown away that she was a female. Is that rude to say? I don't know, but a lot of the characters were males. So, and the few female characters that we did have, they were as well written really well. So this author just has a way of, you know, just making everything work and really showing her characters. Like, I loved all the characters, even, you know, the not so good ones, but it was just such an amazing book to read. I cannot praise it anymore. So these kids are quite close when they're younger. The first scene that I really remember of them all together is at a carnival. And I have to say, the carnival scene, or the fair scene, whatever you want to call it, it was done in such a great way. It was so descriptive, and especially when a certain something happens, it's just so vivid. It really feels like you're feeling what the character is feeling, and it was a bit shocking, but not to the point that it was uncomfortable to read. I really like that descriptive sort of writing, especially in mystery thrillers or horror novels, because it just adds to the creepiness and the spookiness of it all. This is a very dark book, I will say that. If you're a fan of mystery thrillers, this is what you're going to want. You're going to want dark, you're going to want scary. I don't think it will be a read for everyone. Touchy subjects that I think some people would find uncomfortable, especially abortion, rape, sexual assault, forbidden romances, there is suicide, teenage pregnancy, and one that a lot of people get all ooh-ah about is religion. So there is a lot of controversial topics in this book, but it does not pull away from the main story. They all interact really well, and I don't think anything was added for a shock factor or anything like that. It was simply put because it fit with the story, it fit with the characters, and honestly, I just have not stopped raving about this book. I'm going to throw this book at all my friends. Well, the one friend that I have that reads, and whoever else is willing to give this book a go, because honestly, it is so good. If you don't read this book and you're a fan of mystery thriller, I don't know what you're doing with your life. There is a suicide aspect, as I said before, which might be triggering to some people, but I'm never really triggered by books. You know, it's fiction. I don't get this whole hoo-ha of, you know, oh, this might trigger you, this might trigger you. Yes, people are different and some people will be triggered by it, but if you are, that's fine. That's totally fine. But for me, I don't find it triggering. We do also have some mental illness reps. So we have a rep for dementia, Alzheimer's, and there is a head injury involved as well, which kind of plays on the mental illness aspect, even though I guess a head injury isn't, you know, classified as a mental illness, but it can lead to mental illness is more what I'm trying to say. And the way the suspense was done was phenomenal, because it is a slow reveal. You don't get a lot of the information on what's going on. Even if you think you know what's going to happen, it doesn't happen until sort of, you know, the last few chapters of the book. But once it does, you're just sitting there like, whoa, what the hell? Especially the last sort of chapter of the book, I was just like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, but in a good way. It wasn't a bad what the fuck. It was a really good what the fuck. Like, I just did not see it coming at all. Like, there's a lot of things in this book that I did not see coming. You know, some things I sort of thought, oh, maybe this person or maybe that person, as you do with mystery thrillers, but this just blew it out of the park for me. It really did. There isn't a single thing I could fault in this book. And for a first novel, that is a huge thing to say. Now, this is just my opinion. There might be other people out there who have different opinions than I do, but why are people not talking about this book? Why the hell is no one on Goodreads and, you know, YouTube? There's like 2 videos on YouTube about this book. What the hell? For the level of awesomeness that this book is, there needs to be more reviews. There needs to be people talking about this. We need to make this, you know, #1 mystery thriller of the year. I mean, yes, it's only February, but for me, that's what it is. Like, I cannot see anything beating this at this point. I have never read anything like this. Nothing that has ever drawn me in so much, and once I finished it, especially mystery thriller, when you know who's done it, to go back and want to read it again. Straight away, that's all I wanted to do. I was just like, I needed to savor this more. I needed to bask in the awesomeness that is C.J Tudor and the Chalkman. So to go into the characters a little bit more. So our main character, Eddie, is an alcoholic when he's older. As a kid, there is quite a lot of issues and controversy surrounding his mother and what she does for work. And being a small town, there is a lot of hate towards him and his family. Quite a few incidents happen that sort of makes you stop and say, well, what the fuck is wrong with this town? But let me remind you, it is 1986 and things were a lot different back then as they are in today's age or even in 2016. Fat Gav is your overweight, loudmouth friend. You know, he always has to be the center of attention. He's not really that attractive, but his personality comes out because he is so insecure. Metal Mickey isn't really liked by a lot of the people in the group, but he's Fat Gav's friend and, you know, he's sort of integrated into the group. So he's the kid with the braces. He does have an older brother who is a bit of a bully. Yeah, there is a lot that happens with Mickey. Hopper, you know, he's, you know, Fat Gav's sort of best mate. They get along really well. He seems to be a pretty friendly guy 99% of the time. And then we have Nikki, which is the only female in the group of friends. Her dad is the reverend of the local church, so there's quite a lot of issues that surround that. There is signs of abuse within the household, but this is something that Nikki doesn't really talk about. Someone who I didn't actually mention before was Mr. Holoran. I think I could be saying that wrong, but whatever. He was an interesting character. He was sort of like, you know, the teacher who was also your friend. You know, we all had that teacher when we were in school. There was always someone that we could go and talk to and was just really nice and not your typical adult. And he's also albino, which I was surprised by. We don't really have many albino reps in mystery thrillers or in any books really, if you think about it. But I like how he was integrated into the story because as a child, someone who is different and who looks different, especially in such an extreme way, is gonna be a bit creepy to you. But I think it was done in a nice way and it shows how, you know, the adults sort of talk to the kids about the condition that the teacher suffers from, and yeah, it just seemed to be done in such a good way. I really liked his character. As the book progresses, I was a bit like, maybe I was wrong about him, but you know, there is a few things that happen that makes you sort of stop and go, well, you could have done more, or, you know, maybe this person is as great as he thought he was. But towards the end, I find that I really did enjoy his character, even though he did a few questionable things. And all the other adults, you know, they have a lot of issues of their own, especially the Reverend, especially Eddie's mum. Things were different back then, you know, certain things weren't accepted back then as they are today. And, you know, I kind of like that because obviously I wasn't born in 1986, but I was alive in 2016. So it's interesting to see how things have changed. And yes, people can go, oh, you know, this isn't right because, you know, today we don't see it as right. Back then, that was what was classified as normal. That was classified as, you know, totally okay to do, when in today's day and age, a lot of things that were acceptable back then aren't acceptable now. So yes, we can nitpick and say, oh, you know, this is racist. Oh, you know, you shouldn't do this. Abortions are wrong. You know, all that sort of stuff. But, you know, if we want to progress as a society, I think you need to be more open-minded. I did have a little bit of a rant yesterday on Goodreads about this kind of stuff because I'm sick of everyone wanting to censorship everything. And yeah, there will be some people who want this book censorshipped. And honestly, if you're one of those people, fuck you, because I'm so sick and tired of everyone wanting to censor everything. Movies, books, video games. Like, for fuck's sake, we couldn't even get the full South Park game in Australia because it was too, you know, explicit or whatever. But it's like everyone else in America and a lot of other countries got to have the full version. And we got this shitty little message with the koala that said, you know, unfortunately the Australian government does not think this is right for the citizens of Australia, sort of a thing. And it was like, it's okay with me. If you don't want to play the game, or you don't want your children playing that game, don't play it. Don't watch that movie. Don't read that book if you're going to be a fuckwit about it, pretty much. But I'm totally getting off topic. I get a bit rambly with these kinds of things. You know, this author is amazing. I cannot believe this is her first book, like I've said a billion times before. But I'm just so about it. Like, I'm so just excited that this is out there in the world. And, you know, I want to be a writer one day. I would love to write a book. And if I could write anything as well as C.J Tudor, oh my God, I would be over the moon. This woman should be ecstatic by the kind of book she's written, and because it deserves a chance to be read and shown. You know, some of the books that are out there today, very, especially in YA, they're so overhyped. But this is not hyped enough, and I just don't understand it. I don't understand why people have not read this. It was out in like early January, so why am I not seeing this everywhere? Because it needs to be everywhere. It needs to be celebrated, and C.J Tudor needs to be known as an amazing author, because that's exactly what she is to me, and I think she will be to a lot of other people as well. Now, the only spoilery thing that I will say about this book, so if you don't want spoilers, I suggest stop watching now or skip forward until I'm done. The one thing that really made me uncomfortable, and I think it will make a lot of people uncomfortable, but you know what? A good writer makes you feel things, and although I found this scene uncomfortable, I still appreciated the fact that it was written in such a good way and that it will make the reader feel something. And that was a scene between Eddie Munster and Metal Mickey's older brother, Sean Cooper. Now this scene was quite explicit, I guess you would say. It was quite in your face. I did not expect it at all. But it was pretty much a kind of rape, sexual assault scene, and it was really uncomfortable. Like, we're being described a teenage penis and the smell, and yeah, it really sort of was like, holy shit. Like, it did make me feel uncomfortable, but like I said, that's what a good author does. It makes you feel stuff. But yeah, the description that went into what this, every part of this story, really, just, I cannot fault it. I cannot fault anything about this book. If anything, you know, I think once people start reading it and once it starts getting a following, I think a lot of people are going to love it. I wouldn't really be surprised if some people have an issue with it, because there are quite a few controversial topics, and it does look into like religion and good and evil and the darkness of children, and it does have great imagery, so I think that will be confronting to some people. But if you're a fan of all things creepy and dark, this will definitely be a book for you. So that's my review for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any thoughts on the book, or if you've read it yourself, definitely leave it in the comments. Tell me what you thought about it. Tell me if you'd like to read it after I've done this review. And once you do, spread the word. The Chalkman is awesome, and C.J Tudor is an amazing author. Have a nice day, guys.